Thank you, everyone, for coming. We are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, the audience? I just want to let you know that we're changing the way we do some things, so you're all on camera, so please be cognizant of that. Let's see, do we need to do the consent agenda before we do the agenda?
No, well, that'll be part of the
Okay,
consent when you make the action for the consent.
okay, thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda, and we do need to make a.
Hearing of signed individual.
Oh, do we have any signed visitors? Thank you. Sorry, just in case. All right, so we need to table a few items on the consent agenda. Items C and D until our December meeting, so I would entertain a motion for that to happen.
I move that we table item C, Middleton Food Service Code of Conduct, and D, Child Nutrition Procurement Procedures, SOP, to the next meeting, December.
For a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now I would entertain a motion after the amended consent agenda to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the amended consent agenda.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, let's move on to discussion items.
Okay, for the fall student assessment data report, typically Mrs. Goodson reports on that. She went home ill today. So you've seen the data has been there in your packet. And what I would suggest we do is if you have specific questions you would like to ask of that data, rather than going through all the data without Paige here to be able to give details, I'll take any questions that you have and then we'll roll that forward into December so that when you get that presentation, we can have all the details that you need.
Okay.
So if there are any questions, I'll take note of those. If not, I would recommend that that be the extent that we cover on this topic.
And then she'll be here next.
And then she'll be here
December.
next in December. We'll present those.
Sorry. Any questions, anyone?
And if you have other questions, obviously we'll have that opportunity in December to ask the questions as well. But if there was something that you wanted Paige to work on in advance of that meeting, we could get that through.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm scrolling. Anybody?
No, I think
I think we can just purview it and maybe bring it back.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what we would do is we would bring it back together with the data that we would normally present in December.
Okay.
Perfect. That's perfect. Appreciate that.
and could we have, could we add to that, just some, plans moving forward, like what?
How we're responding to each of those areas that are lower or, yeah, yep.
And I know this is, part of the consent agenda, which was the personnel report. Is it okay if I go back and ask, because it has to do with this?
I believe
That's
so.
probably fine.
And I apologize, I forgot. I had it marked to ask about, and I got sidetracked. As far as the temporary assignments that are before and after school, it lists 3 different individuals that are gonna work, I'm guessing, working on tier 2 intervention that might have to do with this report.
Those are at Heights Elementary, and those are
They're
part,
all 3
Yes.
types?
yeah, and that is, an approach they've chosen to take in regards to their data. Part of that is supported by the community school funding, since they are a community school. There's a grant that goes along with that, that is allowing us to offer those after-school opportunities, at that school,
Why is it just for one school?
because of the grant funding that's attached to that. We are still looking at our funding opportunities for the other schools and what possibilities we may be able to offer there for after or
Just
before school.
whatever.
But
it's made
because
up
they
of.
have the grant funding, there's a time frame in which we have to make sure that we utilize that and spend that. And so we're able to start there sooner.
So they're the only school that does community school grant?
They're the only elementary school that
The only
qualifies
elementary?
for that
Okay,
based on
that's
their socio-demographics.
Yeah, that's,
Purple Sage wouldn't be?
They're not as,
no,
they don't have as many as
I wouldn't think so.
of the low income students as Heights area does.
Okay, I must have read something wrong, so, okay,
But that doesn't, what we're doing as the school district will follow in subsequent months. The community school had to move faster because of the availability of the funds and the time frame for spending those funds through Heights. We also do have our academy that is a community school, but
Right.
that's at secondary levels. And they use the funds in different ways.
okay. Is there any way that can be, that information be brought to the board as to how it's,
About how the community
how the
school grant is
community
being.
school grant is? Because it seems like it's gotten a little bit more, is pushing more out to the schools now.
Yes, it is, and absolutely we could do that.
Okay, I would, thank you.
No, it's okay. Any other questions? All right, let's move on to our podcast club. Mr. Hollinger. You and all your easels can come on up.
Well, that's
Oh, that's for the other thing, sorry.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Hunger, they have
They have the description of it, okay, perfect.
I don't have that.
Oh, no, it's,
Okay, our newest club in Middleton High School is called the MHS Podcast Club. What it is we get together with students who are interested in podcasts and podcasting. We'll listen to them, kind of break them down, not just the content of the podcast, but the production, how they're made. It's kind of an opportunity for the students as well. And the goal is to come to understand how they're made and then eventually produce our own podcasts for Middleton High School in the club setting. And I kind of see it, this is something that Middleton doesn't have like a school newspaper. I could kind of see it as like a precursor to that, or just that journalism piece that we're kind of lacking at the high school. So it's sort of like for me, like sort of a test balloon of, is this something students are interested in? Do we have a niche for this at the school? If we did, we could eventually turn it into a class, I would think,
Mhm.
if it becomes popular enough, and there's enough demand for it.
Kind of feels like that's what is journalism now, right? It's a
Definitely more
podcast.
so. 21st century proven.
Mm-hmm.
Is the journalism more with the yearbook, kind of combined, that teacher?
Yeah, there's some of that, but really it's just something we're kind of just lacking overall as a school. It's sort of a gap that we have. So, yeah, there's really not.
It's kind of changing the dynamics, I think, of journalism. It's not like it
Yeah.
was even 10 years ago.
Yeah, but I still think there's a need for it at the school.
Oh,
There's a lot of
absolutely.
critical thinking that comes with that process. So, yeah, it started as a club, but I would love for it to become more. And I'm the advisor for this one, so.
Oh, very cool.
I noticed
and did we
that.
have a podcaster that was gonna be helping with some?
I have a couple of people that we're gonna reach out to. Alexis Morgan is one who has a podcast, and then Matt Todd, he has the Ranch podcast. I mentioned it to him, he's like, oh yeah, people have to come by, so.
He actually even told me that too, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get those folks involved, and some professionals. Should be.
Very good. I'm glad you're the advisor. We won't have any like out of there.
Well, we might not. You know.
Any other questions, anybody? Thank you.
Can we set these easels up?
Yeah, because you're next.
Over here.
Let's put them over there, just kind of framing the TV.
Which one do you want to go first?
Let me bring up the, let's go back to that. The colored one from above.
This one?
It just doesn't seem like it's important. Is there?
Yeah, it goes that way. Like that.
Turn
Oh,
the other
there.
way.
And then the feet come out.
Oh, I see. Okay. You guys see what we're doing?
The feet get on.
Oh, we got it. Aha.
We need some Jeopardy music.
Oops.
You know, it's funny. When I supposed to. I'm like,
This one's not.
what are writing?
Thank you, guys.
While they're setting up, if I could share a little bit, just some background so that it's very clear to all those that are here and anybody that watches the recording. As we talk about this project is a project that would be entirely funded by donation. This is not something, as you, as a board, had indicated when the original presentation was made, this isn't something we'd be beyond, some infrastructure connecting power. The project would be done entirely from donations, and so want to make sure that that's clear, especially as we move in. We've had questions about our soccer field that was all donated, that some people felt like, why would we vote for a levy if you've got all this money to put towards a soccer field? Well, that was all donated funds. This project that we're looking at would only be done through donated funds. So just want to make sure that that's clear and out there, and we'll continue to make sure that that's clear as we move forward. But I'll let Mr. Hollinger kind of give a quick refresher of how we got here, because we have presented to the board on this a while ago, but we can then give an idea of where we're headed next.
Okay, so sorry, that's how crooked that was. Okay, so Middleton School District was donated a tennis bubble. If you look at this right here, this is what Boise State has. I don't know if we can pull it up. We go to the next one on there. Boise State has a similar bubble system. It's often used for tennis courts. It's a structure that is then filled with, it has these tubes that you fill with air, and it gives it its structure. So you can see it there. And so we were donated this by the city of Boise, kind of city of Boise / College of Idaho. Jen Swing, who was the C of I coach, came to us with it. He's like, hey, here's this opportunity for this project. So we said, yeah, let's see what we can do with it. This would be an incredible opportunity if we were able to make it happen. There are no indoor tennis courts in Canyon County, at least not that I know of, that are open to the public. So, and then the nearest ones were in Eagle, there's some in Boise, but there's just not very many of these sorts of options. And so the Western Treasure Valley, this would be kind of one of a kind. The enclosure that we have covers 5 courts. What we would like to do we want to maintain the current amount of courts that we have and then add more to it. So we would add 5 additional courts ideally, and then build this bubble around it that we've been donated. In order to do that, we need to raise money for it, approximately $1.4 million. And again, this isn't coming from public money, this is private donors. And we believe that there are enough people who are interested, enough companies, others that are interested in donating this in order to have this sort of facility. Our goal with this is to not make this super exclusive. It won't be like a racket club sort of thing. It will be priced at a level that it's pretty, like there's not a high barrier to entry to get into these courts. And we'll have like monthly, what's the word, not subscriptions, what's the memberships essentially for it that people can use. So to raise money, we're reaching out to companies, private donors. We have a donor dinner, like a community, kind of to show them the vision of this. That's happening a week from today, on Monday, at the Trigard building here in town. We've invited all sorts of potential donors, community members that are involved in tennis. If you know of anybody that's interested, please send them my way. I can send them the invitation. They'll get a free dinner, and they get just to see the vision of this and what it would look like. So this will tremendously benefit Middleton High School and the high school tennis teams. It will benefit College of Idaho because their women's team will come and practice and use this for matches on some weekends. And then it would benefit just tennis locally in Middleton, but also the Western Treasure Valley.
If I could just share a little bit of some of the steps we've taken since the last time the board was convened on this. We have been working with David Evans and Associates to essentially gather the engineering schematics, the elevations, all of that, so that we could present to the city of Middleton. We presented to the city of Middleton this summer, and that was passed by their design review board. So we've taken the step that we needed to take, make sure that what project we're going to deliver is something that can actually be done and that the city will support.
Do you mean planning and zoning first and then?
Yeah, the design review is part of the planning and zoning group. So they've gone through the design review process, which is the first step. We wanted to make sure that was done and that the city, because that gives the city an opportunity to flag potential issues. And so we went through that process with them. They had a few issues that our engineers were able to work through with them. And so what we've got in front of you is something that has been vetted by both engineering, architectural firms, as well as the city initial steps in planning. So once we get to a level where it appears that we're going to reach that donor milestone, we'll start taking the next steps with the city to make sure we're in the right position there. But it's been moving along. There's a pretty large group of community members that have been coming together to help this move along. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity. Johnny said there's not an indoor tennis facility in Canyon County unless you count beach sheds, because there are actually a lot of farmers in the area, out toward Parma, Fruitland. They take those beach sheds and they clear it out, and that's how they get some of the indoor and all that practice in the wintertime. But gives a great advantage to the kids, but is a boon to the community as well, because it's just something they don't have to travel to Eagle to get.
An opportunity for revenue source.
Yep.
Honestly.
Yep.
So, which is nice.
And did you speak about the partnership with College of Idaho?
A little bit, yeah. Our College of Idaho will be involved in it as well. It'll be kind of the home of CFI tennis when they need to play indoors. So, and a lot of their season requires them to have an indoor opportunity. So it'll be beneficial for them too.
Very good. So
we just
will we make a contract with CFI? How will that work?
Yeah, it would just be a memorandum of understanding with them and how that would work.
Okay, perfect.
So any questions for Mr. Hollinger or myself on this project? Like I said, just wanted to kind of give you an update on
Okay.
where we were
You're just
moving.
making me think of people I know that play tennis. I need to call them.
Send them my way, yes. So call them, invite them. I'll send you
That are like
an
diehards.
invitation for it. We'd love to have them at our dinner next week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the cooperative fund.
All right, Ms. Pennington, would you bring up that document on the cooperative fund? If you'll actually scroll to the, before the letters of support. Look at that. So. Thank you, Mr. Hollinger. Okay, so. Oh yeah, what's it? Is it thinking? Okay, so if you'll just scroll that one up just a little bit there, this kind of give us an opportunity to look at this. And this whole, what is on the website, and the board packet, if anybody's looking for it, is the full application that we made to the state of Idaho for these funds. But just as a summary, the cooperative fund in September, you as a board authorized us as the school district to submit an application for the cooperative fund to essentially apply for funds to help us complete or start the elementary school that was planned that we tried to get passed in May. The cooperative fund was established back in the early 2000s as a way to help schools who had safety concerns, safety issues in schools, as well as had been struggling to pass bonds. And it had not been used for about 20 years. And so last legislative session, the legislature changed the approach and how you can apply for those funds, and actually added funds to that, going from 25 million to 50 million. And they had one round of that in the summer, and about half of the funds were awarded. And then we applied in the second round and were awarded $11.1 million to help with the construction of the elementary school. Part of the plan was combining those funds with the 8 million of our school modernization funds. And what that would allow for is to build 2/3 of the elementary school that we had planned for in the spring. What we would do is build essentially one wing of classrooms plus the administrative offices and the gymnasium, which would double as a cafeteria. The cafegimatorium, however you'd like to look at that. But we would build that in a way that it could be added on when additional funds are available. What that would give us is about 400 seats for students in the district, and would be done with no cost to taxpayers in our community. There's no bond that has to be passed. There's no bond or levy that would be levied against our citizens to make this happen. And so that's an overall benefit, obviously an overall benefit to our community. The way those funds are paid back is through the House Bill 292 dollars that were, they commonly referred to as property tax relief, but it only happens after those property tax relief dollars have already paid off our bond. So it has to pay off our bond first, and then it'll pay those off. That whole amount will be done within 6 years. And at no time will there be any tax levied to the citizens of our community for that 2/3 of that building. And I think that's an important piece to remember. I know that there was some confusion in our community about some of the particulars of this project, and the biggest one is that as a result of how the law was written, you can only take part in this fund if you've failed multiple bond attempts. If the amount that you're getting from the cooperative fund is less than the last bond attempt, you have to run a bond again. Now, there are legislators that are trying to adjust that language so that we don't have to do that. And there's a chance we still won't have to. But as of right now, we will have to run the bond again for $11.1 million and put that in front of our community. The rationale for that is that they didn't want schools intentionally failing so that they could gain access to the funds. So if I see there's 25 million that I could get from this cooperative fund, I'm going to set a bar so high. I'm going to say, let's go for 70 million. We know the community will say no, then I can get access to that 25 million. So that was the rationale for it. It still seems odd to move forward that way. Either way, if for some reason our community were to support that bond in the spring that we reran, that's where the funds would come from. If they don't support and they voted no, we would get the funds from the state.
Okay.
And then for the sake, I know the board is understand this, but for the sake of our community and those that are here and those that are watching, that has nothing to do with our supplemental levy.
Mhm.
I think there was some confusion when we went to the polls, and I'm not saying this is the reason that it didn't pass, but I think there was some confusion because there were people who thought,
We've
oh,
got
this is the
enough.
one that's supposed to fail.
Yeah,
And they weren't understanding that this was our supplemental levy. And like I said, I'm not saying that that's the only reason that it didn't pass, and we'll talk about that here in a second, but, so one way or another, the district will be awarded the $11.1 million, and you as a board have already set the $8 million aside. So we have $19.1 million to start planning for that elementary school. As a review, you as a board held a special meeting to go over some of the programming of that school. Last week, we've taken that information, given it to our architects. We met with our principals last week, and then again today with the architects, and went through some of the details of, placement of specific, if we're gonna have a music room, where's it going to be?
Mhm.
How is our special education classes, are they gonna be set up? Those kinds of recommendations, and our architects are now taking that back and they'll start working through. They have a plan, they've worked through kind of a schedule, and we would be looking at going out to bid for this project in the late spring or early summer. One of those two. That would be together with LKB and ESI, working towards that project. And then we've just got to see, there's an outside chance we could be ready by fall of 27 to have students there. But if not, it would be the fall of 28 that we would move students in to that.
and by then we'll really probably need it.
By then we will probably need it. We have been working with Highway District through the engineers for the subdivision. We've been working with Highway District 4 about the requirements for the roadway for that new school, as well as the access from Kingsbury, making that a ride in, a ride out, so that it doesn't gum up traffic. And that access from Kingsbury will only be for buses and for teachers or staff.
Okay.
Parents and all other visitors to the school will utilize the backage road, which is called Carrera Way, and they'll access from that backage road so that it's off of Kingsbury, off of the main roads. So that's kind of where we're at moving forward. We'll continue to put communication together to make sure it's clear to our community what it is that we're trying to do, making sure that they understand that this does not have any tax impact. There have been some questions that have been brought to the school asking, well, okay, so where's the money coming from? The money comes from the state, which is generated by sales tax
And income tax.
and income tax. So however the state organizes those funds is how that's being funded.
Like everybody's tax dollars.
Yeah, everybody in the state of Idaho is helping. And so that's something that we want to make sure is clear, that there is no local property tax that's coming from this. And so as far as that goes, that's kind of where we're at in the process. In December, there may be some action that the board will need to take to assign or to formally accept the funds and coordinate with the State Department they have a supervisor that will be overseeing the project from the state to make sure the funds are expended the way we said they would be. Any questions on any of that?
No.
Okay, well, that's all I have.
Thanks for doing the application.
Absolutely.
How many pages was it?
60 something.
Yeah, thank you.
Something like that.
Yep,
It was a little bit long. That's
just a
okay.
little writing.
It's worth 11.1 million.
There you go, yeah, that is true. All right, let's move on to the levy report.
All right, so my other sheet. just as a summary, is there a way you can make that a little bit larger? Any chance to? Yeah, that'll work, and then we can rotate.
Okay,
We'll just rotate through.
is that
I'll give-
enough?
Yeah, I think that's large enough. We'll rotate through that. Board members, you should have a copy in front of you of what's up there on the screen. Middleton School District supplemental levy on November 4th did not pass at a percentage of 55% to 45%. The votes are 2,379 to 1,983. And essentially that it comes down to about 200 votes that made the difference between those 200 votes. And I mean, it's a 400 vote difference, but if 200 people had voted differently, it would have passed. So you're seeing, about 4,000, just a little over 4,000 total of our patrons that went out to vote. I don't have an exact number of registered voters that fit within the Middleton School District boundaries, but it's based on what we've seen, it's roughly about 25 to 30% of our community that are registered voters went out to vote. So I just wanted to kind of go through first the precinct by precinct. Looking at precinct 0209, you had 47 in favor and 60 against, which was a 44 to 56%. Rolling over to precinct 0710, which is, from the freeway over to Duff, I think, and above Purple Sage, you had 232 in favor and 287 against, a 45 to 55, which matches, kind of mirrors the overall. Section 810, precinct 810, you had 417 in favor, 680 against. That was the section that had the highest, essentially, there's another section with just a few votes that was a higher percentage, but in terms of total votes, that was a significant section of the community that did not vote in favor. Looking at 910, you had 642 in favor, 701 against, 48% in favor, 52%. 1010 was the section that did vote in favor overall, with 620 in favor and 605 against at 51 to 49%. And that 1811, like I said, there's just one little section down there in the bottom corner of our district that is 25% in favor, 46 against, with 35 to 65%. You can see as you look throughout, do you mind zooming out there? You can see as you look at that grouping there that there's work to be done in terms of communicating, getting people out to vote. I think there's a lot of the work that we need to do. We've shared with our community, with staff, some of the things that we'll be looking at in terms of planning from our office. Certainly want to take any feedback from you as a board. Yeah, in planning for I would recommend that the board plan to rerun this levy in May, adjusting for whatever feedback we're getting from staff and patrons, looking at the cuts that we would have to make. There are some, I believe there's still an opportunity to do some lobbying legislatively to gain some flexibility on some of the funds that are coming in. It's kind of an outside shot, but we'll take that shot to try because if we could gain some flexibility on some of the funds that are coming in for property tax relief, which supplemental levies are within that range, it would be possible to do it without running a supplemental levy. But we'd have to have some flexibility in how those dollars are spent. So we've opened up some channels with some of our legislators to see if we can find a way to do that.
Good.
We do need to plan for the cuts. Even if it were to pass it, if we passed in May, if it doesn't pass in May, we've got to have those cuts ready to go. And I think our community needs to know where those cuts are going to be. There would be a number of positions at each school that we'd have to be looking at. Our security and SROs, we have to rethink because that's where most of the funding for our security is coming. The only thing that would be still able to be paid for if we went strictly by how it's been divided previously would be one SRO position for the whole district. We wouldn't be able to have the second SRO, nor would we be able to have all of the rest of the security officers that we've provided at our elementary schools. And that's the armed services at the elementary schools, but we have other security officers that are unarmed that we've placed at the middle school and high school that we would also have to release from that position. Those are some that we know right now. There are cuts to technology, cuts to curriculum, cuts to extracurricular, which for extracurricular it would be not so much a cut as an increase in fees. For those extracurricular activities, there would be more than likely having to cut a lot of the transportation we provide to get to so it would be on parents to get their students to all of the competitions.
And we are going 6A, so you're gonna be driving Boise a lot.
Correct. So what we will start doing is we'll start outlining what those cuts would be, because we have to plan the budget as if it's not gonna be there.
Mhm.
If it passes in May, we have about a month that we can adjust the budget to compensate for the passage of the levy. But if it doesn't pass, we have to be ready for that. So we'll start working on those cuts on our side. The other thing I think that I would propose and suggest we need to do is we need to get ourselves more into the social media realm. I say that because as a general rule, we don't respond to a lot that is out there in social media unless it comes on our page. If it comes on our page, we try to respond and answer the question. But if we know that there's misinformation out there, if it gets so widespread that it's very hard to I guess reel it back in and help people understand what's really going on. Certainly we're not trying to say that people shouldn't discuss it. We're not saying that people should have different opinions. It's not trying to tell people they shouldn't have the opinions they have, but we want to make sure that the opinions are based on the truth that's coming, that we can share. And we want to make sure that people understand they can always come and fact check everything with us.
Yeah.
There's nothing we have to hide. And so I think we need to get into that space and be a little bit more active as a district in general. And so we're working through how we can essentially find ways to access the conversations that are going on about the school and about the levy, so that when people share misinformation, we can share what the actual information would be and give any other, here's where you can find the information, give them the sources, give them opportunities for coming to the district, going to a principal, going to a school to get the information rather than just guessing or assuming that it's correct. So those are some of the steps that we'll start taking. We've started working. We've done a public records request to get an idea of the demographics that we're voting, where they were, the age groups that are where we see. We're going to be looking at kind of that percentage of our parents, because when we look at the total voters, we're talking 25 to 30% of the total voters. But if we look at our parents, what percentage of our parents are actually out there voting? So to that end, one of the things we've done is we put out a survey to our parents, and we put it on social media, and we're asking people to share it to anybody within our community. Do you have, did I send you that? The survey results. And what we're going to show you tonight is just what we had received. The survey opened over the weekend, and we are up to 337 respondents so far. And so what I'll do is I'll just go through what some of the questions were so that you have an idea of what we'll be gathering. I'll give a more complete synopsis of that in next month when we've gathered all the surveys in. But we asked them if they voted. So far, of the 337 that have answered, 70 said they did not vote. 266 said that they did. Of that group that said they did, 200 said that they supported the levy, and 51 said that they opposed the levy. So certainly we need to see if we can find a way to adjust that, because we do want to get an idea from those that oppose the levy on the reasons behind that. So we asked that. We asked some of the main reasons for those that voted yes, why they supported the levy. We asked them what were the main reasons if they didn't vote, what were the main reasons that they didn't vote. We asked them where they get most of their information. To this point, the majority, 291, oh, sorry. Yeah, I think it's gonna be small enough. I don't know if it'll help that much there. We're on the third page of that. Yeah, let's just scroll to it and then, okay, so, yeah, we should be on the next page, sorry. So main reasons for not voting, you can see there, well, shoot, I got this somewhere here. Yeah, I had them flipped in mine. So tax increase concerns, lack of trust in the district leadership or spending. They had other, and for the other, there's actually a list of things that they've written out of why. Economic conditions, preferred different priorities or solutions, didn't agree with the proposed project, and not enough information provided. Let's go ahead and scroll up or down, move it, move the page up, but cursor down. Where did you get most of your information? School district communications were the largest number. Friends, neighbors, and social networks was the next. Mailers or flyers after that, and then community meetings and forums. I do find that one a little bit funny because we had 4 community meetings and forums total, and there were 3 total people. So
That's what I was.
I'm not
wondering.
sure where those 30 people
I'm
got
like,
that
this has been a special
information
meeting.
from. Local news media, we did have some local news media on that, and then there were some other places that people had mentioned. Priorities that are most important to you in future Middleton School District planning and operations. I think this would be an important one that we consider as we're looking. Having sufficient teachers, addressing overcrowding, student safety and security, fiscal responsibility and transparency, repairing and renovating aging buildings, expanding career technical education, keeping student activity fees low, and improving technology and infrastructure. And then, is that the end right there? Or we got one more there? Okay. So would you support the levy in the future? You see, again, you see what this is based on those that answer the survey. So we're at 209 that would say yes, definitely, but I don't think we can take that at face value as being an indicator for ourselves that, you know, just running it again will be fine. Because the people that are not voting again for the levy aren't necessarily taking the survey right now. So we'll want to make sure that we're
They're not listening to much we say.
right. So, and then we've gone through those main reasons. So, any questions, comments? That's kind of what I would recommend for our steps to move forward. I think there's still a good shot. You know, 200 votes is for 4,000 votes to 200 is pretty small, but we'll be taking the levy election will be during the primaries, so we'll expect a much larger turnout for the vote in the spring.
And you have a lot of people up for.
And there's a lot of people that are up, a lot of positions that are up. So there'll be a lot of work that we'll need to do over the next several months to get ourselves ready.
I really think the map is very helpful on what precincts and how they voted. with the only precinct that voted in favor basically being right in the city of Middleton, seems like that would be the highest percentage of parents probably. But as you go away from Middleton, generally people voted less and less. And what I noticed just personally is that a lot of people in those outlying areas don't even really believe that they're in Middleton School District. Right. We have that same problem with Middleton City is not the same as Middleton School District.
Right.
Just an idea, I think that would help us, you know, how the fire districts have a little sign, you know, entering such and such fire district. Having little
You are
signs
now in
that
the
say,
Middleton School
Welcome
District.
to Middleton School District.
yeah.
And I live in, I have a Caldwell address,
Yeah, yeah.
honestly.
And in a lot of these people,
Purple Sage is a
have
Caldwell address.
Caldwell zip codes, Star zip codes, but you know, something that indicates, hey, you are in the Middleton School District. I think that would help, because a lot of people just feel so disconnected with our district that live in our district.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions, suggestions?
So how does it work out? I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
Blessinger is technically Star. Now,
Yeah,
So,
from
but it's in-
Kingsbury East,
yeah,
yes.
from Kingsbury East it is. There's a ton of those kids that go to Star. Okay, they go to Star Middle School, stuff like that, but they're voting for us
Mhm,
because they're in our district.
correct.
Okay, how can, there's gotta be some, that's obviously a huge disconnect because the largest portion and the biggest discrepancy is in that area.
Right.
So is there a way or somehow there needs to be something there? Because if my kid's going to Star, you think I'm gonna vote for
Right.
Middleton supplemental levy?
Right.
That's,
Nope.
that's pretty much what I
Okay.
was saying, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
why would you?
Right. Yep.
So, I mean, how do we fix that? Or can we?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is putting the school where we're gonna put the school, because it's in the middle of that.
Well, I
Okay.
understand that part, but that has nothing to do with supplemental levy.
Well, right, just to help them, the people that do have their kids and they're going to Middleton, understand that that is part of the Middleton School
Well, the
District.
people that do, and I get that, the people that have their kids that live on Blessinger that are going to Middleton, but there's also kids that live on Blessinger
They're
that are
going,
going to Star.
Right.
So those folks are gonna vote for Star stuff, they're not gonna vote for Middleton.
But
well, they can't
Yeah,
vote for Star.
Star stuff.
Agreed, but they're not gonna vote for us, they're not
No,
gonna
you're
vote for
correct.
Middleton because their kid, they're not supporting somebody that they're not going to school there, right?
Right, no,
Okay.
that's correct.
So, I mean, I don't know if there's a way,
We can, one thing we can do is we can establish where those are, because in the same way that we create a list of all the students that come to us that are from outside our school district, we can get a list from West Ada that has the list of our students that are attending their school district. And
right,
that would be a way for us to at least
That's a good idea.
narrow down the focus so that we know, okay, how many of those families really are over there and which families are they? Not that we're targeting them or
Oh, no,
anything
no.
like that, but
No,
just so
no,
you know.
no, but it needs to be.
Because
it needs to
then
be
the
broken
focus,
out.
then the focus cannot, well, in my opinion, the focus would be more on how do we reach the parents that are not those parents in that area? Because we need them to come out to vote to counteract those that are
Right.
moving in, that are
Agreed.
Star.
It's no different than the fire district deal. That thing is so screwed up, it's unreal.
Right.
I mean, I personally, I'm in this district that, I'm on the south side of the highway, but at the same time, I'm in the Star Fire District and I have a Middleton address,
Right.
okay?
Well, and it's a
Yeah.
very confusing
Yeah.
thing for our patrons. And that was one of the things when we were talking about the bond, a lot of people were like, why are we building for Star? Because some of the folks don't even understand that you're still, if you're on the west of Canada, you're paying our taxes.
Correct.
I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're Star, Middleton, Caldwell, if you're west of Canada and east of the freeway, you're paying Middleton taxes for Middleton schools.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I agree. I think that's the first step is getting an idea of how many, and I can reach out to West Ada tomorrow and probably have that
Yeah.
list before the end of the day.
Because even
Because-
though they're paying taxes, they're not gonna vote to increase their taxes when their kid's going to Star.
Right.
You know, I mean, it only makes sense.
But, yeah, and the only thing that I would say is knowledge of how many, so that we know what the goal is. We know what we have to get just to get past that contingent that will certainly not vote for our letters.
Sure.
Well, and just getting a sign up there, say, future site at Middleton School, elementary school, over there's gonna really help them. raise
Yeah, in terms
awareness.
of awareness, for sure.
Yeah, I just, if you can see that from the Highway 44, I think that's really gonna help.
Any other questions, thoughts, suggestions?
Being able to, I think, show something like this, so people realize, oh, I live on Schmidt Lane, I'm in,
Yeah.
they probably know because it says it on their tax.
And a big part is getting those people out to vote.
Yeah.
I mean,
A
when you're
lot of
getting
people just don't
25,
pay attention.
yeah,
I mean, even if they don't have kids, they probably would vote for it because they want to see the education of our students, but they don't know.
yeah.
Or they
Yeah,
don't look at their
exactly.
taxes close enough to say, oh, I need to be voting in the Middleton School District
Right.
bond, you know, for the levies and stuff like that. They just
And-
don't pay attention.
And one of the things
It
we
just-
do, we try to, the newsletters that we send out, the hard copy ones, they go to every address. So every address should be getting those hard copy, newsletters which gives the information, but you can't make them read it, right? I mean, it can go to their house, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll read it.
Right, right.
So,
No, this map really helps a lot.
okay, anything else? We'll keep working and I'll just report each month on what we're doing.
Perfect,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, before we move to policy, it is tradition to let the students go. Please come get your, agenda signed.
Now we're unmuted.
Okay, let's move on to policy.
Okay, so, we have one first reading tonight. It's policy 7085 P1. It's a financial management procedure. Since it's a procedure, we have no changes to that, but due to compliance with food service, we do have to get a new updated date on it from the board, that the board has reviewed it and it's gone through this process. So we don't have any recommended changes, but we do need to, go through the adoption process with it again. Just so we have, the last time it was adopted, if you look, I think it was 2015. And so it's just been long enough, we need to make sure that we get that procedure with a new date. So my recommendation, since we don't have changes, would be that we go ahead and just adopt it tonight out of the first reading and move forward with that.
Okay,
So it has nothing to do with the two we tabled.
No,
Okay,
it's part of the same process. It just,
yeah,
none of those words are in there.
okay.
The next group of policies are those policies that we tabled at the last meeting as far as our third readings go. And so I'm just gonna walk you through each of those here quickly and see if you have any questions on those. Let me just get to the right, turn on my screen, sorry. On 1500 P1, We left highlighted the days that we put in, and so you'll see there's a suggestion of that information being to the board clerk at least 14 days before the board meeting. That's the same number of days we had in the old version of this policy, so we just left that consistent.
Oh, so I copied this a long time ago, the first time around, so it's changed, it's not empty,
No,
so it's 15 days,
14.
14.
And so the ones that were updated, uploaded for this board meeting will be the final ones that go into policy, so it shows as clean of a version as we can. And then under consent agenda, we left highlighted in green and shall not include fee resolutions or items requiring more than a simple majority. And then under quorum, we left shall constitute a quorum. And those would be the final recommendations for that policy that would move forward.
I wanted to kind of bring up about public comment. In terms of them, the community, the people that come in and sign up to speak. I know they've more than likely looked at our agenda for tonight, for the night of the meeting they want to speak, but is there a way that they can express their concerns at another time? I mean, 2 different times to speak?
Mhm.
Because I think a lot of times they see it written down and we haven't discussed it.
Well, and the reason we put it at the beginning is because the state told us we had to. There's a law, there has to be at least one opportunity
But we
before
can certainly open it up again.
before the consent.
Does that make
agenda.
sense? We could,
Yeah,
we
that's what I'm
have to have
asking.
it at the beginning, but we can certainly open it up again.
So you have to have it at the very beginning.
Yes, so any other time,
First state,
Just to comply with state code, yeah.
yeah, that changed 2 years ago. 2 legislative sessions.
But
ago.
no,
Okay.
nothing can stop us from doing it again, so.
okay. To me, I think it would give members of the
Just have
community a
Mike hold
chance
up a sign.
to ask questions about what, the different things that we've discussed. That's just something I wanted to bring up for that I had listed here.
Do you have a recommendation of when within the meeting that you would?
Or could you just word it and say if
At
additional,
the end of,
you see fit, do we need to put it in policy?
Well, you don't need to put it in policy. I'm just talking for, if you're looking for a spot within the meeting, we would have to create a spot within the agenda so that it's clear that
There's
Maybe
an
like-
opportunity there.
before the possible action, because action items.
Or
when we
maybe,
open it.
it's something like you have, I don't know,
Well,
the agenda's
here's the
posted.
problem with it is that this is not an open forum.
It is, it's a
And we
meeting
have
in
to,
public.
it's a meeting in public, not a public meeting.
Right.
So
It's not a
we have to
hearing,
be really careful in just
yeah.
going, okay, break, anybody that wants to line up at the microphone and air your grievances. Because like, number one, there's really no way for them to, in an orderly way, sign up and do that. Number two is that, it could just be days
Could
and
have 2 different sheets. So you're aware of what they want to talk about.
I don't know, then it gets convoluted.
Go to a city council meeting.
well, those are convoluted purpose, I think, I don't know.
They are.
I mean, I understand, I understand where you're coming from with it, because I think it's important to have as much community intake as we can have. But, is there a better, I don't know if there's a better way, so I don't say no to something like that, but.
Yeah, if somebody wanted to reach out.
But
Not
if there's a
definitely,
way that we
let them talk.
do that
Sure.
in an organized
Absolutely.
way, because you don't know, like, you could be sitting there and hear something, and go, wait, I wanna talk. Well, that's not something that we want, because it's not necessarily
Then it-
appropriate.
Yeah,
Having been a community member prior to getting on the school board, I remember many times sitting there not knowing exactly what the discussion was going to be on the discussion items. And as I listened to them, Now granted, a lot of these are ones that are probably not going to have someone talk later, but I remember having all kinds of questions after they sat up here and discussed what was happening. And it has nothing to do with me being influenced by anybody in the community. It's personal experience from when I started coming to school board meetings. So my question is there a way to work it in? And
Well, yeah, you work it into the next meeting. You take your notes and you work it into, and come to the next meeting with your questions that you
Yeah.
have now found. If we
It
do
doesn't
that,
have to be-
we could be here till midnight. We could be a city council meeting because people will now have, there could be 10 people have questions on something that you mentioned. And now all of a sudden, we're sitting here going through answer, question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, and then it could turn into a debate more than anything,
Yeah.
I don't
rather than
think it
somebody
would
coming
have
in.
to turn into a debate. I think we would be hearing what the community's concern is. And if we were to sit here till 9:30, 10 o'clock, I wouldn't mind because I want to know what the community's thinking.
Well, you know,
So,
I've spent a lot of time with these two ladies.
No, I
Well,
understand,
you know,
I
I
understand
think
that,
that's
exactly,
something
but
we
then
can
if
do
people have
ourselves, too.
questions and stuff like that,
Be
if they
open.
really have concerns and they wanna
Please reach out.
talk about it and have questions about it, then why don't you schedule it and you come in the next meeting
and speak at the
and speak at
beginning.
the next meeting when the time is allotted.
I feel like some of the hearing of sign-in visitors does spur some of the next meeting's agenda when we want to
Mhm,
talk about this
true.
in our report. So I'm wondering if as something that would be a little more organized, that there's another sheet as people leave to say, to kind of sign up, put your name and put a subject that you'd like to discuss.
Yeah.
That would give,
Well, part of order of business, it says the board shall accept public comment before it takes action on any district business.
Right, and
Which is,
but the one thing that we had to do, and doing it at the beginning of the meeting fulfills that. And that was one of the debates when they changed the rule, because they made the rule that it should be happening at the beginning of the meeting, the public comment. And that was one of the items, as they said, most of the policies will say that it has to happen before the action items happen. And they said, okay, well, as long as if we put it at the beginning of the meeting, it's still before the action items happen. And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, but that's the argument they said, that it doesn't violate that principle of the policy because it's still before the action items. And the reason the reason they put it at the beginning is because of that statement, because the board takes an action to accept the consent agenda.
Right.
So if we waited till, if you waited till the end, there would be an action that would be taken before people had an opportunity to speak.
True.
And that was why that was the rationale for the argument when they were making the switch, is it has to be before action items, and consent agenda is an action item.
Mhm.
So that's why we put it at the beginning. And then for the one,
and I know there were.
so
other-
it doesn't violate that part of the policy.
There are other districts that would only let people speak on agenda items for the night, and that's something we've never done, which I'm grateful for, because I think that it is important to have that input, because it does drive future meeting subjects. I think, if we're gonna do something like that, I'd just like to be able to have something where we have these conversations, people have input, and then from our discussion items, that if they want to go further, they can sign up for something on the next meeting,
Well,
they have to take that spot.
and then I feel like you do a good job of having open and door. And as board members, we can be receptive of our audience that's out there. If they have questions, we need to find answers for them,
Because we
Take
really
some
can't
time.
answer them during public comment.
No.
There is no answer for it.
No.
Because that's not, it's just, hey, here's.
But I appreciate it when I get feedback or questions, because then it does help have a pulse on what's
Yeah.
going on.
Well, I remember there being complaints in the community about having the public speak last, because then people had to wait the whole meeting to speak, I remember.
Which is how we used to have it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Didn't it, I think before it was after discussion items.
Yeah,
What it was.
One of our dear patrons lit us up over that. I don't know who it was. But I was appreciative of it because we were able to make those changes. We won't point any fingers at all. No, it was helpful. It was helpful to all of us because we were
no,
able
it's
to get
feedback,
that
it's feedback, it's
that
okay.
information before we got further, and we've already had those opportunities where people have spoken to us, and for me, it's influenced my thought processes as we're going through those things, so
I also
it's a
think,
good thing.
I do think my biggest concern with putting another one is that in the middle of it is that it ends up, there's almost an expectation that there's further discussion on that topic.
Mm-hmm,
And yet the counsel that we receive regarding public input is that we can't respond to the public input necessarily. So
But you basically.
you could hear it,
Hear it.
but you couldn't respond. But I think part of the problem is they stand up and they stand up if they ask a question. It's not something that we're necessarily planning to respond to until the next meeting. Because, I mean,
most
that's
of the
just,
time, I think we're pretty cordial, and yes, we're pretty, I don't know what the word is, but we're accommodating.
Accommodating.
but what I would say is that adopting this policy as it reads right now would not stop us from adding an additional in the future if it were determined by the district.
Okay. I guess I can.
Well, if there's times when you feel like there's something that we have discussion, then you feel like there needs to be an opportunity for people to say something, then please, by all means, let me know. And we can get it on there. I have zero problem with that.
Well, and I know if people read this, they understand that they have the time to contact you, ask for something to be put on the agenda.
Mhm.
It's just sometimes I don't really think everyone has access to
Well, just
the
learning that,
policies
when you have,
and knowing that.
teaching people that, like, you wanna talk, here's how you do it. There you go, there's a social media video. How to give your 2 cents to the board.
I think it's important
Fine
just
with
while
me.
we're on this conversation, so policy 4105 is where that lives, and we've left the language as may add comment at the end of the meeting, so it's very flexible in whatever the decision moving
Perfect.
forward looks like.
Thank you.
On 4105,
Yeah, that's where,
maybe I didn't get that far. Is that one that we're,
That's one where it's on the
oh,
third
the
reading.
very
Yeah.
end of it, okay.
Okay. Okay, so what's your recommendation on that one then?
okay, so going back to 1500P, I would recommend going ahead and moving forward with adopting that tonight.
Okay.
And then if we move forward to 3005, the entrance placement and transfer, similar, we just needed to add that one paragraph that's still highlighted in green due to some updates, and then we also added, or the State Department of Education's definition of persistently dangerous under the transfer from persistently dangerous schools. And so those two additions, with those in there, I would recommend adopting that tonight as well.
Okay, I have a question. Do we, when a child is transferring into our district, elementaries K through 8, do we have a probationary period where principal, teacher observes them? Because it basically is stating here, any student transferring to the district will be admitted and placed on a probationary period for a period of 2 weeks. Do we do that?
Well, we don't really have the opportunity based on it's a may, it doesn't say that we have to do that with each one. Right?
Will be admitted and placed on a probationary basis for a period of 2 weeks. It doesn't say may. in
Good.
this section.
Because what we would have to do is, the way that the law reads from the state as far as the open enrollment, is we have to take them. So it does, the probation, I mean, we can call it a probationary period, but we couldn't send them out unless they violated some of those conditions that are allowed, significant behavioral issues, chronic absenteeism, those kind of.
That doesn't really list that in here, and that's what.
But that's on the
concerned me.
other,
It does on the other.
on
It
the
does
other
on the
policy.
other.
And so those are the ones that we're left with. We left out the language in there just because if we place them on it, we can say it's probationary, but they can turn around and say that the state law says I can, if there's space.
That's the new state law that's
Mhm.
passed just.
And
2
this
years
portion
ago.
of the policy, just to clarify, really the probationary period is in regards to their academic placement.
Academic, yeah, it says
Yeah,
that
and
they,
so it's really to determine if we're placing them appropriately, not
is
to
it
then,
right?
not to then move them out of the district, but then if we need to move them into a different
So
classroom.
I
different
didn't
grade
mean
level.
move
Or a
them
different
out.
grade.
Okay, yeah,
I just meant, is this being done? Is there
If
a, where they're
we
watched?
move them out of the grade level that they were in,
Well,
absolutely.
you'd have to do an educational assessment and.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, if, let's say that there's a third grader comes in and wants to move into our district, we place them in third grade. But if that third grader comes in and the parents say, we would like to move them into fourth grade, we could do that, but that's where that probationary period would come into play.
So it's just not real clear then.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
It's the way that the statutes pile up. They place those things in those orders just to try and get one thing confirming another. But in this
Okay.
case, it's gotta be there for that if we're moving them from a different
Grade level.
grade level
Or
or
up and
situation, they were in a self-contained classroom before and now we're gonna place them in a non-self-contained classroom. Those kind of things would be probationary.
Okay. I don't, I honestly don't like the way some of these are written because they state something that is unclear.
I would agree with you. If we could find a way to get it out of there and meet the legal requirements, I would absolutely support that.
So our lawyers and everybody read these and say, yeah, you gotta keep that in?
Mhm.
Or is it just ISDB?
ISDB.
Excuse me.
ISBA. just
ISBA.
gives recommendations, that's all,
They do that, but we have our attorneys look at those
absolutely.
as
These.
well.
That have all the color, okay.
And but remember, attorneys are gonna look at it from, helping avoid risk, right?
Mhm.
So they put more words in there, and I say more words. The words they choose to put in there are all chosen to help the district avoid risk. And having those things in there, albeit unclear, we have to walk through those pieces. So
Okay.
for instance, that policy connects with the other enrollment policy that we're gonna have. And you've got to make sure that those two things are working together.
Okay. All right.
But if there's ever language that you can provide as we're working through these that would make it more clear, we can always take it to our attorneys and have them
Okay.
vet
Thank you
that
for that offer.
if we do that.
so 3010 is our open enrollment policy, and there's a procedure that's also attached to that. There was some change in Idaho code, and so what we've highlighted in green adds the addition of the Idaho code, and it really talks about students being in jail, having criminal offenses, and making sure that we have processes for that when we're looking at open enrollment as well. And so we'll leave those highlighted areas. And then the application approval process, there is a state form, there's also a district form, so we made sure to leave in there that we'll continue to use the district form for that. And that we'll provide a form to parents and we do this every year. Prior to February 1st, any student that's an open enrollment student, we have parents fill out a new form for the next year, so we anticipate enrollment coming back for them to re-enroll. So that just aligns with our current practice. And that's the summary of changes to 3010.
Okay, at the back, it says evaluation of policy. And the superintendent shall report to the board the effect of this policy.
And I am ready to do that right now. 176. There are 176 students from out of our district that are currently enrolled within schools in our,
That are here,
That are
accepted,
here.
that have been
that have been
accepted
accepted.
or denied. Have any of them been denied?
We've denied quite a few. I don't have a number of denials. But a lot of times they get denied before they actually fill the application because we tell them that the building is full. Because right now, all of our buildings are full. The heights that we have to evaluate every quarter.
Mhm.
The high school and middle school have one grade level each that is open. The high school 12th graders, the 12th grade class is open. And at the middle school, the 6th grade class is open. All other grades in those schools are closed to open enrollments. The 2 of our 3 elementaries are closed to open enrollment. Purple Sage is open as a school, but the elementary, Purple Sage grade levels, there are only 2 grade levels that are open
Still, okay,
to open enrollments. And then our academy is open. We've got plenty of space there.
okay. Thank you.
Any questions on the procedure that goes along with that as well?
Go ahead, Ken.
3265 is a student-owned electronic communication. We went through the adoption process last year with this, and so there's minimal changes to this. The only changes really were, gotta get that one closed on me, I'm sorry. Were the state recommendations on that, which is just what's highlighted in green there on the screen. So student use of electronic communication devices during school hours should be limited. And then we highlighted just to specify where K5 and 612 were. So that would be those recommended changes to that one.
Okay, I'm gonna say something about this one as well. I just wanna get my 2 cents out there that I know we have cell phones that are supposed to be put in a place in the teacher's classroom. Do we know that's all being done with every teacher?
In our secondary schools,
And, yeah, second.
I can ask for a report on that. All the principals know that that is an expectation. The teacher has the, I guess, authority to allow students to utilize their phones if they're doing a project within the classroom where that would be acceptable.
Don't they have a Chromebook?
They do, but some of the apps that they have that are available on the phones wouldn't be.
Okay.
But again, that would be the exception, not the rule.
I want this board to think down the road about possibly saying no phones at all in the
That's
school.
never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Not
In
in a
terms
million
of-
years, Cindy, unfortunately.
Okay, hear
We're
me
not,
out,
we're not a
hear
prison.
me out, please. I never once have said we're.
No, but I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
My concern is that just listening to different things I've heard on the news, reading, researching about districts that have said, leave your phone somewhere in the morning and you get it after school. There are so many positive things that are happening in these schools where kids themselves are saying, I'm now talking to my friends in the hallway. I'm now sitting in lunch, talking face to face to people. Removing a cell phone to me from the classroom and the school is somewhat, I think, would help our scores a little bit better. I think it would help mental health. I think kids, social skills, whoever whispered that, would help them engage with each other far better than what they're doing now. Because the minute they get out of class, they're on their phone again. And these individuals that talked and I'm gonna name it, it was Vale High School. These kids that they interviewed, they were amazed at how much more they felt connected with their friends now that they don't have it in school. So I'm just putting this out there as that I really want to think about this. So our board to think about it now. You can say it'll never happen, that's fine, but I think we used to call the school and leave a message with the secretary for our kid. And they got it.
Still do.
And I think, okay, still do. I don't have kids in high school right now, or, well, ever again, except grandkids maybe. But, I just think that it's gonna help with mental health.
There
So that
was,
was my 2 cents.
well, there was a news program I watched just the other day that highlighted school districts around the nation that are starting to have just a complete prohibition of electronic phones in classrooms. So there's, or at school at all. So there is beginnings of a movement. I don't know how widespread that's going to be, but there is some movements towards that nationwide. And it's interesting to see and watch.
You know, if it had just been the adults talking, I probably would just kind of went, okay. But to see the kids that they interacted, that they asked the individual students, and it wasn't just one, it was like 3 or 4, and they were genuinely happy to not have their cell phone. I mean, granted, they would have it later, and if it was an emergency, they could, use it. But anyway,
Be
that's my 2
interesting
cents.
what an actual survey of the whole school would say.
I
You're
think
right.
I can tell you what our
that-
kids would say.
Well, but you'll have parents that'll push back
Yeah,
too. I'm sorry,
sure
but you will.
parents will.
Cause
but-
I've talked to some of the Valley View people and they've had some parents push back, so.
Oh, they've
Which is,
taken it out?
but on another side of that, I've had nieces and nephews sitting in the Caldwell High School and somebody brought a gun to school. They would like to know if their kid's okay. So there's that side of it. Just saying, there's that side of it.
Yep.
And honestly, my niece and nephew didn't have cell phones. They got them after that.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I mean,
can
there's just
understand
there's
it.
a lot of working pieces there.
Mhm.
Okay, just wanted you.
But
to
I
know
don't think they should have them during.
Yeah.
But if a teacher needs to use them, actually, you can, if you use a tool correctly and you teach them how to use it correctly, I think you might have a better chance as adults. Does that make sense? I think they have to learn, at some point, you can say, no, 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 no. But if we never give them an opportunity to choose, yeah,
I think it's a valid thing to look at.
Absolutely.
And at least.
You're right, there's pros and cons.
And ask,
Absolutely.
do get some feedback on it, find
Yeah.
out what that might look like.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because there are classes, my son's in a filmmaking class and they don't have cameras, so they
They
film
need to
with
use
their phones.
Yeah,
But he's also bugging me today, like halfway through the day, to find out if I send a package out for him or not. And I'm just like, I'm not talking to you. Go do school stuff. So, I think it would be something,
for that point, yes, they should be doing
I don't think
that.
it's something we wipe off the table, but it's certainly, nothing we can change in this policy currently. So
No,
it seems to be something that I think we could look at to see what it might look like.
okay.
Moving to policy 3500, so notice of health services, this one we had brought forward. We want to remove the language in that, around invasive physical examination, since that's not something the district.
Yes, please.
I was hoping that,
Yeah, and then there's also
Taken
a
out.
portion in there that we've struck through, that defines invasive physical examination, not pertinent, so that would just be removing that language
okay, thank you.
on that one.
So the recommendation on that one.
Is to move forward to adopt
Okay.
as well. And then policy
Oh,
3525 is the immunization requirements. Some just updated language due to Idaho code changing, so we've left that highlighted in green. Pretty minimal language changes, and the recommendation would be to move that forward as well.
Were all the others the recommendations to adopt?
Yes.
Previous one.
Yeah.
3340 is a corrective action and punishment and denial of enrollment. And so really the language in here is around the denial of enrollment and adding that in there. And it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, when students are arrested, they have criminal records, criminal offenses, making sure that that's taken into consideration as well.
So the criminal stuff, does that supersede, doing some sort of, I mean, if the behavior was on the school grounds and you know they've had a criminal action against them or whatever, does that supersede if, back up. If they're on an IEP or a 504, would there be a manifest determination done to see if that behavior, because that's kind of fine line.
It would it would be determined based off whatever the criminal offense would be, because there was the new law that came down, which is why there's kind of all of this in these new policies in reference to specific criminal offenses listed in certain Idaho code. So it would depend on the seriousness and if it was something listed there and whether that law would then supersede that. But most often, if it is determined as part of a disability, that would always be taken into consideration.
For
Okay.
instance, an example would be great bodily harm. That's one of the phrases that they utilize.
Okay.
If the action of the student causes great bodily harm, and there's some bars they have to clear to be that, we would not look at a manifest determination in those situations.
Okay, and I can understand that. I guess what I'm thinking is more of your student that has been diagnosed with autism. That really, hopefully, somewhere down the line, there has been, if he or she has behaviors that could hurt someone, hopefully there has been manifest determinations done more than once even. And that's
It would
where I
be
was.
standard practice if there was any behaviors that that would result in a consequence like a suspension.
Okay,
Then
Which,
a manifest determination would be done. And that's how our standard practice is as well.
because you can look for alternative placements
Yeah.
until, you know what I'm saying?
And in situations
Basically.
where we've gotten to that point and we've done the manifestation determination, but it's still the recommendation to disenroll or take some of those steps, we're then usually in contact with our attorney. And a lot of times, there's even been situations where it potentially would need to go in front of a judge to make some determinations. And so we follow the recommendation of our attorney once we get to that point as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
4105 we mentioned earlier, and that's the public participation in board meeting. And so that relates back to the earlier conversation. And like I said, the language specifically in reference to the conversation earlier, we have left as may, which then leaves the board flexibility to determine that process moving forward.
Thank you. Do you recommend adopting that one as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then the last policy, the 9003, is the flags and banner policy. So this would be a new policy that we would be adopting. And then this is just the recommendation from ISBA for the new policy as well. Do you want to add something to that?
Just that as we look at this, we're trying to adhere pretty closely to state statute on the policies that's written. Once passed by the board, we'll communicate this out to our principals and staff, make sure that they're aware of what the limitations are for what they can put up in their classrooms.
Perfect.
And they're even looking at students' artwork as well?
Yeah, but there's a lot of allowances for student artwork,
Okay,
as long as it's part of an assignment within
for
the
this
class.
temporary display,
Yeah.
so, okay.
I actually hate to do this. I did have a question about the public participation.
Oh, going back on 4105.
Yeah, sorry. I'm reading through this again. And towards the bottom in green, it says during public comment period reserved for agenda items. like state law at this point says that you can talk about anything in a school board meeting comment. Am I reading this correctly, that this, like, this is saying that our policy limits to those, limits those conversations to the agenda?
I mean,
Because, I mean, we're being fair because we have our timing. Abusive, obscene, I kind of like, I don't know how I feel about it, even though I don't want to hear that kind of stuff. Like, I'm kind of always try to err on the side of free speech. The threatening to any individual, absolutely not, but it just looks a little bit, the wording's odd there. I don't,
Reserved. It basically says it's reserved for agenda items.
I
It doesn't
just-
say you can't.
it's if you created an additional public comment
okay,
space that, because you have to offer one where they can offer anything,
Yeah.
right? So if you've offered an additional one that you say, this is just for
These subjects,
these
okay.
topics, that's where that would be come into play.
okay. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this.
Yeah.
No,
Because I-
for the
It's basically-
required one,
Yeah.
any topics would be, as long as it doesn't meet those others.
Yeah.
Those other, talking about personnel and things like that.
Right, okay. I'm good, thank you. Appreciate it. That's fine then.
Any other comments on the flags and banners? Or questions on the flags and banners?
So then to recap, the first reading as well as the third readings, we would recommend to move all of those forward into policy.
All right, any more discussion, anybody?
Yeah, 2 motions.
All right, with that, I will look for a motion to move some policy. Please name each
We'll need
one.
to do the different readings on a separate motion.
Okay, so let's do the first reading first.
Sounds good.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we move policy 7085P1, financial management procedures, forward to an adoption.
A second time.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
I'll try this one.
All right. You go, Jay.
I move that we adopt into policy the following policies: policy 1500P, policy 3005, policy 3010, and policy 3010-P per N1, policy 3265, policy 3500, policy 3525, policy 3340, policy 4105, policy 9803.
For a second.
Seconded.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, let's move on to action item A. I would entertain a motion to approve or deny the podcast club.
I move that we approve the high school podcast club.
3 times fast. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. All right, I would entertain Jake. to
I
make the
move
motion.
I move that we go into executive session as per section 74-2061B of Idaho Code to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Trustee Moore,
Yes.
trustee Dempsey,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes,
trustee Cal,
Yes.
trustee Clark,
Yes.
thank you guys for coming.
Yes.
I mean, you can hang out outside.